Lindsey Graham died this week of a sudden heart-related illness.
Lindsey Graham has a heart? Seems doubtful.
Especially after we tell you just what a monster he was when it comes to reproductive health and protecting women. Hint, fuck him.
Fuck him for real. But you know who we do enjoy?
Ooh.
One of our amazing guests. Kenya Martin is here, director of programs at We Testify, and she's going to school us all on the transformative power of abortion storytelling.
Plus, comedian and activist Jenny Yang is here to explain how doing comedy shows at immigrant grocery stores across the country is the most fun she's had as a stand-up, and how it's building back the communities affected by ICE.
I cannot wait. This is all coming up on this episode of the Feminist Buzzkills podcast, the show that would vote for explosive diarrhea over Todd Blanche for Attorney General.
And the difference is...
one will never get in my pants. So gross. I'm Liz Winstead, and I'm joined by my co-host Moji Alawo and explosive diarrhea in my pants.
Hello! Listen, everything we talked about is coming up.
Including the explosive diarrhea?
So much explosive diarrhea, in fact, or the other thing that is not getting in your pants.
I cannot stop. Like, I don't know about you. I know we're going to talk about how excited we are about E-Gene, but like my whole internet feed, my whole friend circle is talking about explosive diarrhea.
And you know what? And that's how we protect ourselves when our public health has been decimated.
But how about we have to protect ourselves by transforming healthy food into either tasteless food or unhealthy food?
Yes.
That's how what?
It is wild. I'm like, oh, when I would normally want like a piece of fruit or a salad, I'm like, I have to have a piece of toast until I have the time to boil the life out of any green vegetable I have.
We're basically all eating like we're in retirement communities.
Yes.
Everything just turns into pudding night.
Can't wait till the boiled prunes and oatmeal.
And then you top it off with America's living under this smoky haze.
I can't, my eyes are burning and the back of my throat just feels like I'm a smoker. Hint, I'm not a smoker.
I know, I'm in Minnesota, and look, somebody canceled my pontoon trip this weekend because it was right where like the air quality is terrible, and I'm choosing violence.
My kid is in a camp that is outdoor all day, and yesterday they were like, don't even send them. We're not even doing this. Like, it's wild how this smoky haze that is climate change is ruining our summers.
I know. But you know whose summer has not been ruined? Good old E-Gene Carroll.
E-Gene is really having the best time. She's really just having the best time. I feel so glad for her. I was so happy when I heard the news. I was in Pittsburgh and I was just excited.
I know, 5 million. And then she had what? 600,000 in interest earned. Can you imagine having $600,000 in any way, shape, or form?
Period. No, I can't. Also, real easy way to look at just how like capitalism works, right? Like that's just money sitting around making money. That's crazy.
Last week, I was reading an article about Melinda French Gates. And, you know, in her divorce settlement, she got 36 billion with a B dollars, and she gave away $26 billion of that and now has $38 billion. So
really puts into like really sharp relief, like, oh, more money than you can spend literally, right? Like, oh, literally, yeah. Even when you're trying to get rid of it, you just can't.
So, you know, it's such a good button. And I feel like it should be something that we tell at every cocktail party, at every event where we have people in our lives who are right wingers, just to say any billionaire that does not want to pay their taxes could do one of two things. You could give a boatload of money to charity and still have that money, or you could pay your taxes. Either way, you could be benefiting a lot of people and not lose a penny, and apparently sometimes make money.
Zero impact on your bottom line, and still, which is what makes it crazy when you realize people don't, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, let's talk about a different bottom line, because bathing suit area bottom lines, not the proverbial bottom line, the literal bottom line, like below your belly button, something that we've been doing for the past month on the pod, and we'll continue to blab about it.
Yeah, we've been telling you about this important work we're doing at AAF, and we're doing it because there are these major attacks that have been launched on abortion pills, especially mifepristone, which is one of the drugs that can be used. And first, there was a case that's been weaving its way through the courts called Louisiana v. FDA. That's trying to impose a national ban by essentially making it you can't send abortion pills through the mail any longer, which has been a lifesaver for people.
The current acting head of the FDA has announced that this FDA will be the most pro-life FDA in history. And he's promised a whole bunch of anti-abortion, and he's promised a whole bunch of anti-abortion organizations that he's going to conduct a study to examine the safety and efficacy of these medications. Todd Blanche, during his confirmation hearings, which we'll get to in a minute, also was like, we're going to do the most to make sure that you have nothing, women and people with uteruses.
Which is crazy because it's been 26 years, hundreds of studies. Like, we know it's safe. Everyone knows it's safe. But also, this administration is just hell-bent on alternative facts, creating new facts to conform to their narrative. So, we could be looking at some kind of twisted science that will decide the fate of Miffy for all of us, not just whether we can mail it, but whether any and all approval will be revoked and it'll just be yanked off the market.
100%. And so that's why we've been planning for months and just launched last month this really incredible campaign with several of our partners who we love, because we feel like if we don't get together and combat all of this false bullshit with our own mifepristone stories and our experiences using it, their narrative will win. So we have an opportunity, right, to bring and switch up the narrative with our stories, and we're calling the campaign the Miffy Stories Project. Now, Miffy is short for mifepristone, one of the pills in medication abortion, and we're collecting thousands of stories of, like I said, real life experiences from people who have used mifepristone and or misoprostol, which is another medication abortion. Sometimes and often they're used together. If you've used it for abortion care, miscarriage management, or any other kind of medical procedure you may have used this drug for.
And if you've used them, we're asking anyone who feels comfortable, who has used them over the past 26 years that they've been on the market, to just share their experiences. Our goal is to deliver to the FDA actual stories from real people who have actually used these medications. And we're doing it to show the FDA human experiences to counter the data that may be skewed misinformation.
Anyone, anywhere can anonymously submit their stories in a simple form that we've created at the website mifestories.com. We've already received hundreds of stories, and we have been reading them on the pod for the past month, and every story is just touching. And so we decided, you know what, we're just going to keep reading them because you need to hear them and hopefully they'll inspire you. So this week we're featuring a story from someone who calls themselves Zoe. So Moji, would you like to start Zoe's story?
Hi, I'm Zoe, and I had a medication abortion in Nevada in the summer of 2017. I found out I was pregnant when I was a week late for my period. I took an at-home pregnancy test, and my first thought was, this can't be happening. So I took another test. Maybe they were both false positives, so I took a third. Finally, I had to come to terms with the reality of my situation. I really was pregnant. I decided to have a medication abortion because nothing in my life was going well. And that's a gentle way of saying everything in my life was on fire. My grandmother, who'd helped raise me, died. Then her partner followed shortly thereafter. I watched the second funeral before I'd processed the first. I spiraled quietly in the dark while the world spun on without me. Then I lost my job. And somewhere in that free fall, I made a choice. I would not let this life bury me. I left my abusive boyfriend, the prospective father. I gave up my apartment. I sold or gave away almost everything, paring my existence down to a single backpack. I bought a one-way ticket to Europe. The plan, travel for a couple months, clear my head, end with a 4-week teaching English as foreign language course. A new scene, a new me. Then I missed my period.
I received my abortion pills through a clinic. From start to finish, the process was more complicated than it needed to be, honestly. By state law, I had to come in for 2 separate appointments and undergo an ultrasound before I was permitted to buy the pills. I can only imagine how difficult it must be for others to get the time off from work for 2 doctor's visits a week apart. And the ultrasound felt just plain emotionally manipulative. I took the pills at home and I immediately felt relief. The plan to get my life together was back on track. What surprised me the most was that I had a rare reaction to the medication. Where normally a person bleeds for 5 to 7 days, I bled for a full 28. My body was so drained. But even after all that, I've never regretted my decision.
Because I had access to medication abortion, I was able to reset my life. I traveled, cleared my head, earned my TEFL certification, and got a job teaching English abroad for 7 years. I felt like I'd gotten my life back. I'm sharing my story because of my medication abortion. I was able to completely reroute my life. I traveled, healed, grew as a person, met my fiance abroad, and started a new career that I love. Medication abortion put me in charge of my life. It was difficult, but I would make the same decision again.
I love these stories, and I love the stories that don't sugarcoat that sometimes the process can be hard, but that doesn't mean that it's unsafe. It just sometimes means that the process is different for everyone, and be prepared for the physical toll it might take on you while you're going through it.
I also love these stories because hearing them reset their life, it just does something to me. It's really moving, and it's so generous for people to share these.
What I like is the tell is there was so much leading with the plans that this person had and emphasis on being able to execute those plans. And that's the big part. And then the other part of the story of the like physical toll it takes on you and stuff, like, I love it. Let's keep them coming. Let's keep reading them. And please, I would love, and we would love, and so many people thinking about medication abortion who need some support would love to hear your stories. So head over to mifestories.com, read what's come in so far, and if you can, submit your story. I can't emphasize enough that this forum we've created has prompts that are so simple and really help you guide your storytelling. So it doesn't require your email, it doesn't require your data or your privacy, and it doesn't require you to be like a professional storyteller. It helps you tell your beautiful story in the way that you want it to be told.
And even in those constraints, even in the prompts, you get the individuality of every person. You get their individual story. And I just find it a really brave and meaningful way that you can help protect access to these pills.
That's right. So go do it. Or you know what else you can do when you're done telling your story? Head over to Patreon and give us some money.
Drop those ducats.
Where else are you getting cool information like this? Honestly, isn't that worth a couple coins in the old fountain? The AAF FBK fountain?
Honestly, it is. Come on. You get us, you support us. It's the fucking best. And you get other fantastic things like Patreon birthday shout outs. So if you aren't already a Patreon member, just sign up. Just go sign up. Not only will you get a birthday shout out, like I said before, you'll also support not just this, but other great content. And you'll get cool FBK merch and fantastic experiences. All pledges, every single one, support this pod and all of our activism at Abortion Access Front. So just go pledge it. Patreon.com/feminist buzzkills.
That's right. And lastly, a little bit of activism before we get to all the meat and potatoes of the show. We love to tell you each week that we have so many opportunities to get active. And one of our favorite programs is a mutual aid program that we call Adopt a Clinic. Adopt a Clinic is a great way for the public to support independent clinics, abortion funds, clinic escort groups, and patients by ordering much needed items from their wish lists.
This week, we're showcasing the Autonomous Body Shop, which is a Pittsburgh-based mobile mutual aid resource supporting bodily autonomy and community care. They provide free info and supplies to support and empower folks to be the go-to friend for reproductive health, abortion care, and harm reduction in their community. So the link to their website will be in the show notes.
I love it. The Autonomous Body Shop. It's great. All right.
They got some really funny merch too. Like, don't even, it sounds somber. It's hilarious.
The merch is great. They're hilarious. They're out in these streets being great. So let's move on. because we have lots of shit to get to. So let's first get to the steaming dump of this week's abortion news.
Well, Lindsey Graham is dead, and there's been a range of emotion around Lady G's legacy and his closeted shenanigan, and a whole lot of policing about the right way to talk about it.
Look, I'm on team fuck that guy because everything that he passed or fought for or spoke out against has destroyed people's friggin' lives. Fuck that shit.
And that was the point. That's what he wanted. So fuck him.
Exactly. And his legacy, people have been talking a lot about Lindsey Graham, the warmonger, Lindsey Graham, the anti-LGBT person. But look, I'm team fuck that guy for all that. But also there hasn't been enough talk about Lindsey Graham and how he has destroyed like just equality as a whole and reproductive rights in particular.
Well, yeah, there's the Equal Rights Amendment that he opposed because he said it lead to chaos.
Chaos. If women have rights, we have chaos.
He also voted against the Equal Pay Act in 2019 because fuck that guy.
And also, let's not have an equal rights amendment and let's not pay people equally. And then let's just ice that shit cake by not reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act. So we don't get paid enough. We don't have equal rights and we don't protect people from violence. We can't say to the government, hey, will you sue this asshole who harmed me? You know what we say to that?
Fuck that guy. And of course, there's reproductive health care because he hated reproductive health care.
Oh, for sure. From the second that guy came into the Senate, he wanted employers to be able to deny birth control in their insurance coverage. That whole fucking fetuses can feel pain. He's the one that introduced the very first bill of that. And then it just continued on and on and on. Every 15 minutes, he's proposing a new law. And of course, the federal 20-week abortion ban, he was like, let's try to move that fucking thing forward. And thank God it all failed.
But he never stopped. Then he was like, 20-week abortion bans don't work. Let's try 15 weeks. That could work. That'll be great.
Oh, 100%. And then here's the thing. He was, of course, the big, big, big champion always of defunding Planned Parenthood, cut off federal funding to Title 10, all of that shit.
I think his heart stopped because Planned Parenthood got their funding back after they defunded it. So to that, I say, fuck that guy.
You know what? I think you're right. Fuck that guy. But, maybe he will be resurrected because there is an actual update in the anti-abortion movement going back again to the well, trying to defund it. It's a mess. Last week, we really went hard, right, on talking about how the extremists in Congress were so busy hating on so many other things that, oops, they forgot to renew the ban that funded Planned Parenthood's Title 10 program, and it got reinstated. And that didn't stop them now, did it, Moji?
Nope, we're still excited about it, and the anti-abortion barbarians are still mad about it. So mad that they held a press conference on Thursday and demanded the ban be reinserted into a party line bill that is scheduled for later this week. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, these fucking barbarians just are constantly showing up at the Hell's Gate, just screaming about it and screaming about it. And, with Lindsey Graham gone as a proponent to help them reinstate that, I just don't think that they're going to ever have the votes this close to an election.
I don't think either.
But that doesn't mean that they won't waste their time to keep trying to do it. And when you have crackpots, they had this press conference and it was like Cindy Hyde-Smith, who's a senator from Mississippi, who stood behind Susan Collins in some blaze of glory supporting Brett Kavanaugh. She's a mess. And it's just not happening. It's just not happening.
It's not happening. And I'm happy about it.
I'm really I just feel like, can't they do anything else other than just focus on this? Imagine being so dedicated. Again, we said it last week, is so dedicated to making sure that low income folks who want to get pap smears and cancer screenings and birth control can't get it. Like, imagine.
I can't.
That's your jam.
I can't.
Those are your vibes.
I even want the pro-lifers to get their pap smears. Like, come on now. We all should have health care.
Truth.
However, in actually news to get excited about, 4 states have abortion on the ballot this fall. And we actually haven't talked about them enough, Liz.
No, we have not. And it's a wide range of how abortion is going to show up on their ballots, right? There's 2 states that straight up have ballot initiatives that are trying to codify Roe, and that's in Nevada and Virginia. So go Nevada, go Virginia.
That's just getting ahead of the crazies, and I love that for them.
Same.
And then Idaho has a ballot initiative. And honestly, this is what I'm most excited about. This is really exciting. So the Reproductive Freedom and Privacy Act was just approved. And if it passes in the ballot in November, it would establish a right to make private reproductive health care decisions. And this would prevent the state from interfering with or prohibiting with any kind of reproductive health care, including contraception, fertility treatment, miscarriage management, and childbirth care. It essentially just takes Idaho back to Roe. It's incredible. And they've been suffering.
They've been to the Supreme Court. You know, OBGYNs are fleeing because of their draconian punishment laws for people who are providing care. And for Idaho to go from that to, they have overwhelming support according to the polls. They got a whole bunch of signatures. 28% of signatures to get it on the ballot were from registered Republicans, 33% unaffiliated voters, 37% Democrats. So polling found that about 60% of Idaho voters would support the act, which is really great. I'm so proud of them. And I feel like, let the people speak.
I'm so proud of them.
And then there's fucking Missouri.
Deep sigh. Didn't Missouri just do this 2 years ago? What are we talking about?
I mean, Missouri is just not showing us the way.
Well, I feel like the Missourians that are pro-choice are in fact showing the way, right? 2 years ago, they showed up and they showed out. They reinstated, they basically had a ballot initiative to give themselves, we're back to Roe, right? And that's what we're getting sometimes. And the legislature said this is unacceptable. And they were like, so let's do a ballot initiative with the same name that will essentially repeal the ballot initiative that was passed 2 years ago to restore Roe to Missourians.
And not only are they trying to now devoid all of that as a ballot initiative, they have a new ballot initiative that also, it makes it harder for people to have ballot initiatives. So when the Supreme Court says let it go back to the states, like the bigger argument is so many states like Kansas, like Ohio, who passed ballot initiatives have politicians like, oh, we didn't mean turn it back to the states so that the people of those states could decide what they want. We just want it to be turned back over to us, the conservative politicians who have been gerrymandered into our seats, so we can decide for you. That's the part that's a mess in all this.
So Missouri has been really great in a lot of their progressive legislation in using their direct democracy to claw back the rights that they want, claw back things they want. And Amendment 4 would essentially take that away as well. Just put the power right back in the legislators and make it much harder for Missourians to actually have the state that they want. So watch out for that, Missourians.
Yeah, I know. So many shenanigans, which kind of leads perfectly into our big story of the week, which is about shenanigans. And we had this dovetail of a shenanigan that you and I have been talking about so much. And then that shenanigan really tied into the confirmation hearings of Todd Blanche.
Diarrhea Blanche?
Yeah.
Well, we've been following these relentless tactics and failed conspiracies, especially around medication abortion, that the anti-abortion movement loves and has been just tossing across the wall like spaghetti just to see what sticks. They love to say that abortion pills are dangerous to fertility. They end up in our drinking water. They have no other uses, blah, 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 lie.
It's just BS. And so their latest tactic over the past 6 months is spinning something horrible and trying to use it to destroy access to abortion pills. So they're taking the stories of pregnant people who are victims of abortion coercion at the hands of their partners and using these circumstances as a reason to ban either mailing the abortion pills or just banning the pills altogether.
So we at FBK and AAF have reported on these same dirtbags for years, dudes who slip pills into their partner's milkshakes, into their food, just a whole bunch of really horrible shit. So this narrative has escalated and politicians are pretty successfully pushing it to really receptive audiences at the FDA and at the DOJ. They're pushing this as a way to pressure these agencies to just take the pill off the market.
It has escalated so badly that I wrote a whole op-ed for it for Rolling Stone, and I purposely timed it to drop this week because Todd Blanche is on board with this bullshit, and he's been meeting with a lot of these extremist activists and a lot of the politicians that he's going to be sitting before in his confirmation hearings. And I really wanted you all to know, and I really want some of these senators to read about just how bad it is. And I'm not sure people Moji get this hatred they have for us and how they will go to any lengths to just destroy our lives under this guise of protecting women.
Yep, they do. When we saw this during her questioning of Blanche, Alabama Senator Katie Britt encapsulated the vibes of what this latest tactic looked like and uses an example to make this argument. Listen to this. It's terrifying.
I got to hear the story of Jonna Affolter, who's here with us today, and I am so grateful for her willingness to be here. Her then boyfriend, now ex-boyfriend, a doctor, no less, actually forcing a crushed abortion pill into her mouth in the middle of the night, then taking her keys, holding her hostage so that she could not go get help. This is sick and twisted and must stop. Can you commit to me today that this administration and DOJ will prioritize taking meaningful and thoughtful action to address the dangers that occurred in the current status quo to women all over this country?
What a joke. First of all, that story is horrifying, but really she conveniently leaves out and acts as though there aren't laws in place for horrible men who do this kind of thing. This doctor pleaded no contest. He's been convicted on 4 counts, and he's going to be sentenced October 14th. So it's like, yeah, it's awful. And this guy has been given his comeuppance. He's going to get his comeuppance.
What is really terrifying is this argument never addresses the real dangers and harms that happen to women and children in the hands of men, right? The pills didn't hold this woman down. The pills didn't crush themselves and jump into her mouth. And if you substitute something like rat poison or date rape drugs or a knife for abortion pills, how much effort are they really making to restrict those substances rather than look at the real problem?
I mean, that's the whole thing. She was so adamant about, will the Justice Department look into this horrible behavior that's happening? And I was like, I have never seen this person or any of these people talk about the horrible behaviors that the Justice Department has never looked into. I mean, I write in my op-ed, let's be clear, the leading cause of death for pregnant people at the hands of their partners is by guns. And not a person in that hearing has ever proposed removing guns from violent men to protect women.
Not a single one.
In fact, just last week, Trump announced he wants to weaken gun regulations and be able to send them through the mail without background checks, and his family will profit from it. It's unbelievable.
You know, we thought about this, but how did Todd Blanche respond to Britt's gruesome tale of intimate partner violence from a man?
Absolutely, Senator. And it's not only what the Department of Justice can do, but it's what the FDA is doing right now for the first time in a decade, actually doing real studies about the safety and the appropriateness of these drugs.
Okay, so Britt lays out a terrible story, right, to the person who is trying to become this nation's top cop. And rather than respond to the terrible actions, again, by a man to a pregnant woman, he jumps right over that to talking about all the ways restricting the pill could have prevented this. I don't see restricting pills as the cause here. He could talk about what he'd do to minimize the real problems of partner violence or what he'd do to prosecute men who attack pregnant women. But instead, he's just talking about mifepristone.
Exactly. I mean, he also referred to this new FDA, if you'll listen to the language that he used, he's like, finally, the FDA is using, and I'm air quoting, real studies, as though the studies of the past were fake, just so laying that narrative out. And then I just want to point out, he also said there haven't been studies in over a decade. Look, according to Johns Hopkins, researchers have published a major review in January of this year that looked at the agency's data collected between 2011 and 2023, and it concluded that the FDA oversight during this 12-year period was consistently shaped by scientific evidence and caution.
As it should. Liz, this man has never looked into any crime against any woman and done anything. And we have all these examples of that, right? There were the Epstein files. He was Trump's attorney, and we know the things that Trump has done to women.
Right. He opened up the investigation because he said that Jean Carroll was perjuring herself on the stand. He got Ghislaine Maxwell a nicer prison. This guy goes out of his way to make sure women experience harm. And the only thing he cares about is protecting fetuses. And, Democrats should have posed questions that would challenge what he said he would do so emphatically. Make him say, sir, are you saying the studies the FDA has done for 26 years on mifepristone are not real? Can you tell us what your facts are around that? Or force Todd Blanche to say, oh, if you're going to look into medication abortion and how horrible it's getting into the hands of men and it's horrible and we need to check the market, are you against Trump's plan to just be able to send guns through the mail? Force him to commit to all of those things.
No, they didn't. Well, hopefully Blanche will not get confirmed, but you all should know, and we should remind people that these hypocrites, they don't protect your life at the hands of sex traffickers or at gun violence.
They don't. And tell folks every time, if they're trying to do this, ask people, what other ways are they trying to protect women? If you've got people who aren't on your side, demand that they tell you, what are the plans for protecting women? Because they don't have any.
They don't. And this is why telling our stories matters, because they keep dominating the narrative with crackpot realities of afterbirth abortions and infertility and abortion regret. And we have to control the narrative. And we have the perfect guest today to talk about abortion storytelling and how it is freeing for yourself and your community.
She's the director of programs at We Testify, an abortion storytelling collective that believes we build a stronger, more inclusive movement when everyone's voice can be heard. Please welcome Kenya Martin.
Hello.
Hey!
Hello.
I love that you're here. Thank you so much for coming. So Moji and I just told folks, as we have been doing, about the Miffy Stories project that we are doing. And we're so excited that you and We Testify are partners with us in this collection of work. And We Testify is literally the OG org, really, doing this incredible work in guiding folks in how to share their abortion experiences. So talk a little bit about the importance of telling our abortion stories, especially since we're watching the latest push by extremists making abortion pills the boogeyman yet again.
Well, hi, y'all. Kenya here. We Testify, Director of Programs. At We Testify, we use the power of real stories to change how people view abortion. And through the stories we tell, we build more than just awareness. We build community, leadership, and power. Community specifically is my favorite part of the work because a lot of us have lived in isolation for long periods of time due to the stigma and shame that comes with having abortions. And as far as the Miffy Stories project, I think that's a dope project. Thank you for letting us be a part of it. And as someone who has experienced medication abortion, I think it has been high past time that we have real conversations about it, what it's really like when you're in the restroom bleeding your life away, when you are experiencing all the pain. And I know a lot of people like to say that it's more like a period or cramps. Absolutely not. It is laboring. For those who have never labored, it is contractions, uterine contractions. So yeah, I think it's super important that we are having these conversations and we're talking about it out loud. You guys obviously have been getting some really good response with folks sharing online. I need to add mine.
You really do.
It's called the Miffy Stories Project, and Miffy stands for mifepristone, which we said a million times. But there's also miso-only stories. There's also a lot of stories around how people use these medications. And the fact is, laws don't matter. So people are going to have abortions, right? So to be able to tell the story of, you're shedding your uterine lining, which means there's clotting and there's cramping and there's laboring. And all of that is normal and safe. And know that so you don't wind up in an emergency room in a state with bans where someone can criminalize you for your abortion. So the more people can feel these stories together, I think we keep people safe.
Agreed. I mean, there's so much power in truth and transparency, right? I see it happen in real time. I affectionately refer to myself as the abortion whisperer because anytime I tell someone that I too had abortions, I talk about the work that I do, they open up. They immediately share that they too have had an abortion. So I feel like we should be talking to each other. I just came from another amazing abortion storyteller retreat where you bring out 15 amazing strangers. They trust me to travel across the country for a weekend of getting free together.
But let's talk about that because you didn't just show up, you curated that event.
I did. Oh my God, it's my favorite. Y'all, I love these retreats so much because people start out as strangers and day one, we have like a welcome dinner. And I just stand back and I observe the group having dinner and they are all sharing and talking to each other like they've known each other for years. And this is like within the first 2 hours of connecting. In those moments, I'm like, wow, like my discernment has gotten better for people. The fact that I am really big on having values aligned friendships, I think it has also helped how I bring people together. And it works. Like by the end of the retreat, I'm like, oh my God, like everybody likes each other. They love the accommodations. And I just love pouring into people who have abortions because for so long they're hurting because of the stigma and the shame and the silence. And I think that's the biggest way that we can build trust. First, you have to build trust with people to even want them to do advocacy, for them to even share their abortion stories. So the trust piece for me is really big. And then everybody's best friends. And now they have a set of 15 new friendships to leave our retreats with.
I really think that's one of the ways that the stigma actually works to our advantage, that because there's so much stigma around abortion and around sharing your story, the minute you come out with your story, you've jumped like 5 levels in intimacy that you wouldn't necessarily have just talking about your job, right? People are like, oh, I see you. I've also had this experience and I'm really excited to talk about it. And that's, again, what I love about what We Testify does. And I know we just jumped into like your stories and your retreats, but can you talk about the work of We Testify and the process y'all use to help folks who, want to tell their stories, but may not be clear where to start, especially telling it publicly?
Yeah, so historically, we did that by hosting these annual storytelling retreats. I mean, obviously, you're not a storyteller immediately, but first we were partnering with like funds, other movement organization partners to put us in touch with people who've had abortions. Like one year we worked with Texas abortion funds. It was right before they banned abortion in Texas. We partnered with, I can't remember specifically how many Texas funds, but because of people there accessing abortion care, because they don't have the funding or resources or logistic support, they would keep in touch with the people who received funding. So we did a partnership with the Texas funds. And that was a really good retreat. It was huge. We had a bunch of people who signed up and came out, and it just continued to grow. So historically, that's how we've done it. The build the trust piece, bring people in, not necessarily to immediately start sharing their stories, but giving them a space to start talking about it first. So they feel safe first. And then I feel like once you build that trust is where we talk about, okay, how to deal with the triggers that come up with talking about your abortion experiences. What is abortion stigma? There's a lot of people that have never even heard of that term. So giving people the tools and building their leadership from that way. And then once they feel safe, they want to talk about it to everybody. And I can say that for myself. When I came to my first retreat in 2017, it was before I knew anything about the work. I was working at Houston Women's Clinic. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I had all my abortions in Texas. My OB-GYN there was also the abortion provider. So he did all my abortion care, delivered the one that I did decide to keep. I called her the golden child because she made it to the other side.
I love it. Listen, parenting's great when you choose it for yourself.
Listen, hey, that's another conversation for another podcast that we should probably have.
Yes.
So, my first retreat was life-changing. I wanted to tell everybody about my abortions after I left. Even though I was working in the clinic, I didn't even realize that I was organizing on the ground, like meeting people and sharing my stories. I was doing the informed consent counseling, and I would notice like the people on the other side of the table would really be struggling, like if they had to come back a second time or a third time, really being hard on themselves for having to be there because of that stigma, right? The parents, specifically, parents are like, oh my God, how could I be here? I gave life to one and I'm not going to give it to the other. And, those moments was where I'm like, okay, Kenya, this is your time to share your story. And it was in those moments that I realized in real time, like how important it was that I share. So I would say, hey, friend, I'm a mom too. And I knew I didn't need to add more to my life. Like I knew what my capacity looked like financially, emotionally. Parents know best. Trust yourself. I trust you. I love you. Do you want to hug it out? And so that's when I was learning like how important it was for us to talk to each other about our abortion experiences.
I love that you said a lot of people don't know the term abortion stigma, but even if you don't know the term, we've all experienced it. We all know exactly what that feels like. That's exactly what you put words to.
No, I love that, Moji. But also, Kenya, what do you think about people who are part of our movement who don't even know they're being stigmatizing when they are? I'd love to talk a little bit about that because that happens a lot.
Yeah, gosh. I feel like a lot of people don't even realize that they have biases, a lot of internalized biases, which even people who have abortions, they come into our community and our spaces with those biases, which is why it's so important at our retreats that we start out doing something like a values clarification exercise where we have these really ridiculous questions. Like, I feel that people should only have abortions up to a certain point, like 6 weeks. Or I'll throw out there, like, a person doesn't deserve to have an abortion later in pregnancy, just to see where people are. I think we should have something like that movement wide because there are so many people who do I'm pro-choice, or I feel like people should have access to abortion, but only if they do it one time. And they should also be on birth control, like stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of those people, but I think it's super important for organizations like us to talk about the things, right? Say the quiet thing out loud. Like y'all are super, super stigmatizing. Like you guys are contributing to the other side. I think it's important for them to realize that they are stigmatizing and that they sound a lot like the opposition.
Yeah.
I think giving them grace is sort of accepting that they are speaking from their internalized abortion stigma. Some of them. That they just never thought about it, right? And I find that in my conversations with people just never thought about it and they spout stigma. And then when you question them, they're like, oh, is that what I just said?
But does it change the conversation?
Not always.
Well, I've often asked people when they've had these sort of heels dug in situations, I've often said, what was your process behind getting to that? And I have had some success actually with people having to think about why they believe that, because abortion to me is maybe more than any other thing. People have formed an entire value system from anti-talking points because we have not told our stories. They have not known why people have multiple abortions. I've had 3. I tell people all the time because there's not one circumstance every time. And I didn't want to be pregnant 3 times. So therefore I had 3 abortions. And I would love to talk to somebody who would like to challenge me on that.
Everyone here has had an abortion in this podcast this moment. And part of why we can talk about it is because we are safe and we are in places where we feel safe. Are there times when maybe a person might feel it's not safe to share their abortion story, and how would you help someone navigate that?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I like to stress when people like come to our retreats, and a lot of them have never shared that they've had an abortion like out loud with their family or anyone close to them, is that they're not obligated to talk about their abortion experiences. And if you do feel like you want to share, you have the option to do that anonymously. You can use an alias. But I do feel like people should know that there's so much value in talking about it. It's a part of how you can free yourself from the stigma that you're feeling, a lot of that internalized stigma. It comes from being in silence. It comes from never having a space to talk about it. So it's important that we talk about it, which is why I do encourage them, even though I'm not forcing people to talk about it, but I do encourage them to talk about it like in an open, safe space. And usually they do. And if they don't at the retreat, they eventually come around because they actually start to see that change and sharing why it's so important. And they want to be a part of that change that they want to see.
I also think a critical mass of us talking about our stories really does help dilute the power of that doxing and that sort of thing.
You know, you have a partner who would disagree with your choice to have an abortion and you did. So these spaces where you can safely tell stories or anonymously tell stories for your own emancipation and for that emancipation of others is super important. And I think just reiterating that storytelling doesn't necessarily mean you're standing on a stage and telling your stories. Sometimes storytelling is finding people to be able to share your story because someone is for the first time hearing that somebody else has a shared experience with them. So the freedom around all of that and why we do it and where we do it is something that everybody who's listening to this needs to realize that that's what we're talking about. It's a really cool experience for the person doing it, and special places can be carved out for it.
Agreed. We saw it in real time. We were in Kenya, right?
So glad you guys got there. I was like, when are we going to talk? Because Liz has not told me enough, so I'm ready to hear what you guys did there.
So I just want to preface too, I've been in 2 situations now with Kenya with abortion storytelling. And one was at a conference we were at where Kenya organized those of us at the conference who'd had abortions. And it might have been those of us who've had multiple abortions. I can't quite remember. I think it was multiple. And we got together and we just talked about it. And when Kenya says, I'm the abortion whisperer, it's true. You are the definition of let's hug it out. Like you are that physical embodiment of let's hug it out. But it was just really nice to be there. And so part of this, we went to this global conference in Kenya, and Kenya was part of a panel that was about storytelling. And they talked about storytelling as a group with a couple of other international storytellers. And then we had breakout sessions. And so I learned so much from the people in my session. It was physicians, it was providers, it was people who'd had abortions, it was people who were navigating legal stuff. It was a whole bunch of different people in these breakout groups. And you and Tunisia, your colleague, really talked powerfully about storytelling. And then you went to each of the groups and had conversations. And I wondered if you could share what you heard, because I know you and I had some conversations around some stigma came up, some things came up, and it was quite powerful.
Powerful indeed. You know, going into that space, I was nervous because, you know, as an American, I don't want to go over there in their space and trying to teach them how to do the work or how to talk about it. So I wasn't sure how that was going to work out. But it did work out beautifully. We had people that were sharing things that they probably didn't think they were going to share. People got really personal about their experiences, specifically the ones who were sharing their individual stories. I think one of the things that stuck out with me the most is even someone that was on the panel, an expert leading in this work, stigmatized herself. She's mentioned that I think it was she'd had like 10 abortions, and she said it was something that she wasn't proud of. And it shook me. I immediately am like going into like, oh, I need to help you get free, friend, because I am proud of you for choosing yourself however many times you chose yourself.
The thing that was so profound for me about that was her saying that, and then her going on to talk about the beautiful children she raised.
Yeah.
Right? She said, and I have 4 beautiful children. And she went on to talk about the children and how blessed and rich her life was. And it was like
the stigma didn't even exist. It didn't even need to be said, right?
right. Yeah. And so wanting her to understand that those 10 abortions led to 4 incredible children that filled her life full of everything was just like the dichotomy that I wish she could see and just embrace that the abortions helped her get to those 4 children.
Exactly.
One thing I wanted to ask you about too, just with relation to the trip to Kenya, there was 900 attendees from all over the country. And we talked with each other about like, it feels weird to be an American here. Like, what do we talk about and how do we bring up what's happening in America and not feel like the privileged Americans, whatever. But I found people really didn't know how bad it was in America. I think they thought Roe v. Wade is gone and that's too bad. But like, and then they were freaked out to hear.
Yeah, they were clueless to what's really going on, just how impacted we are in the States, how people are really unable to access care, and why we're talking about it from a place of making sure people know that they can safely self-manage their abortions. It was really interesting to see and hear that they were all shocked, even though they do have it just as bad because they can't access abortion publicly as well. And they're losing access to the resources and the care that they once received from a lot of the NGOs over here. They just didn't know that we can't even access care depending on where we are geographically.
I think one of the things that was a beautiful situation as we were in Kenya, to be able to hold so many multiple emotions on that trip, to be able to be in community and experience joy, to be able to hold people's stories, to be able to share our own stories, to be able to listen, talk. It was something that's not offered a lot. And I think that, like you doing the retreats with We Testify, I just think talking, sharing, being, combining joy, love, and compassion all in the same time frame is crucial to our survival.
Agreed. It's how we continue to get free together. It's how we can stay liberated. And I saw people getting liberated this past weekend in real time. We just have to keep talking to each other. A lot of those people didn't think they were going to talk, but in that space, they knew they were safe and they talk about it. And we just, I just got an email from someone over there in Kenya that we did that panel with that wants to continue these conversations and for us to talk more. I'm so happy that I was able to experience that and to hear from other people and hear what their experiences are when it comes to accessing abortion care. Can't wait to talk more and share more. Maybe we could do that on a different episode. If you guys like me enough, then have me back.
We love you, Kenya. Oh my gosh.
Yes, I promise you, and I promise our listeners, you will hear more from Kenya very soon in a super secret podcast.
Yes, because I be having shit to say.
Hell yeah.
You feel me?
Kenya, thank you so much for joining us here at FBK. We are so happy to have you and hear about the work you do at We Testify. I cannot wait to have you back. Can you just really quickly tell our listeners where to find you and how to support the work that you do at We Testify?
Yes, please continue to love on people who have abortions. If you know someone who wants to be a part of an amazing community where they feel safe and can share, they can go to our website at wetestify.org. There's a place to share. There's a place to learn about our work and hear from our storytellers. We had an amazing cohort last year. You can read their stories. They have some amazing quotes that are super relatable. Definitely go there. Also, follow us on Instagram at We Testify. We're also on TikTok doing the amazing work in storytelling. We are the storytellers. We are the organizations just like yours, guys, that love lifting joy when it comes to our abortion experiences. So please check us out there, engage with us there. We always welcome new followers.
Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, give us some money.
And give them money. We'll put all those links in our show notes. Thank you so much, Kenya. Thank you, Kenya. And please support We Testify.
As always, information about We Testify and all of our stories will be in the show notes. And if you're looking for the most up-to-the-minute resources on accessing abortion care and funding for your care, hit up our friends at abortionfinder.org.
You know, we do this show because this kind of information is not given enough attention in the media. So help us spread the word by showing us some love, liking, subscribing, and giving us a 5-star rating. And how about giving us a review? Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh,
A
wouldn't that
little
be
review.
delightful?
I know. Every bit helps, and it helps us reach more listeners. So we're going to transition. It's time for the party game that's faster than Monopoly, more fun than Taboo. It's 6 Degrees of Abortion. That's right. Moji takes a story from the news, and I have 6 chances to link it to abortion. Let's see if she can stump me this week.
You know, Liz, what I wanted to do was explosive diarrhea, but we've inserted enough into this episode.
Hilarious.
I actually found this was really exciting. So this group called the Womack Sisters have announced a throwback soul album. And what is interesting about the Womack Sisters, which you probably wouldn't know, is that one of their grandfathers is Sam Cooke of A Change Gonna Come song. And their uncle is Bobby Womack, R&B legend. So I would love for you to maybe see if you can spend a little time getting from Sam Cooke to abortion.
Okay, Sam Cooke to abortion is hard, but I'm trying to think. There was that Sam Cooke sort of based on fact and fiction biopic,
Okay.
right? That happened like a couple years ago. Do you remember this?
Maybe. I love Sam Cooke.
It was
I'm
called,
looking. Legend. Sam Cooke Legend.
I don't remember what it was called. It was like based on Sam Cooke, and then there was like a Martin Luther King thing. I don't know. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember. One Night in Miami.
Oh, no, I don't know this one. Cool.
Yes. One Night in Miami. So it was like some fake made up thing. I can't remember who did it. It wasn't Shonda Rhimes. It was somebody else that did this film. And it had all these cool stars in it. And it was basically the story of like, it was like they made up this account of like Malcolm X and Jim Brown. And
Okay. I'm going to give you a hint who might make it. Leslie Odom Jr. was in it.
okay.
That's a good hint.
Thanks. That's a good hint. So Leslie Odom Jr. was also played Aaron Burr in Hamilton. Lin-Manuel Miranda is a gigantic fundraiser for Planned Parenthood. And I believe his mom is on the board of either National Planned Parenthood or the New York Planned Parenthood. So Sam Cooke, weird biopic that I remembered sketchy details. You gave me Leslie Odom Jr., which gave me Lin-Manuel Miranda, Hamilton, fundraising for Planned Parenthood. His mom is on the board of either national or whatever, to abortion. Boom.
Well done.
Thank you. That was a good one.
I feel good about that one. I was excited about that one. Jen didn't have so much faith. I was like, Sam Cooke can get her there. She knows.
I
this
didn't know. I've never heard of the Womack sisters, but
Oh,
I
they're
kind of
new.
want to know more about the Womack sisters.
Yeah, it's new. They're basically, you know, Bobby Womack's nieces and Sam Cooke's granddaughters who are doing a soul album. So I too will look into them more. Well done, Liz. Well
Thank you. Well, I love it. I feel like we're going to head over to our Show Your Whole Ass with some more Black history.
Yes.
Moji.
Well, you know, each week, yeah, Black History. Each week we dive through the bowels of the internet doing a misogynistic colonoscopy to find the absolute worst takes from the manosphere. And today's Black History gem comes from Benny Johnson, podcaster and chief creative officer of Turning Point USA. Blech. Let's play a clip.
I want a name, okay? I need a name of a single Black woman that had something to do with America's founding. Go. I mean, I can think of like, didn't Thomas Jefferson have like half his family like with out of wedlock with the slaves? I think isn't that historic? Anyway, that's like as close as I can get.
Hey, Benny. Can you name a single thing that was not built on the backs and free labor of Black women? Go.
Moji, he couldn't because Todd Blanche said that they could not relieve the names of any Black women until Congress passed the Release the Names of Black Women Who Helped Found America Act. Obviously.
Listen, what is Jasmine Crockett's picture there? Does he think that that's Sally Hemings?
Probably because he was struggling to try to talk about what he thought he might know about Thomas Jefferson. And then I think he phrased it as like out of wedlock sex with slaves. I'm sorry, dude. You literally landed on slut shaming rape survivors. What a garbage person.
What a garbage person. All right, let's do a palate cleanser and move on to our next amazing guest.
She's a friend of the show and has hit the road with AAF doing comedy and clinic support. Her latest comedy tour has taken a page from our playbook in supporting immigrant communities around the country, and we cannot wait to hear all about it. Please welcome Jenny Yang. Jenny.
Hello.
Yay, we're doing it. Hi, guys.
Actually, you're doing it. You, Jenny, always be organizing Yang. If you're a friend of the pod, you know Jenny's been on several times, and Jenny's background is as a labor organizer. So I love that you're now combining your stand-up, your organizing, and your touring, and your love of social justice, and your love of immigrant rights all into one comedy show. Tell us about this wildly fun concept that you are bringing to neighborhoods across the country.
I mean, first of all, we must establish that I stand upon the shoulders of Abortion Accents Friend.
Oh.
Okay? Because who else is willing to go through the trouble of doing stand-up comedy in a nonprofit, independent way? Lizz Winstead.
Oh, well, that is so sweet. That is so sweet.
It's a whole thing. No one else would do this.
Right.
Literally. I could count on one hand, maybe, stand-up comedians who'd be willing to do this. And I'm very proud of the company I'm keeping with this. So thank you for putting it that way. I am so happy that I get to work on my stand-up more of a full-time capacity this year. That was by design because, number one, fuck Hollywood. Also, number two, I was depressed, frankly, for the last 5 or 6 years because of personal stuff. Like my dad was dying. I had 2 miscarriages and 10 failed IVFs. The world is burning and I hate this administration. And then ICE happened in full force. And so in my head, I was like, I will truly annihilate myself if I do not do something about this. So we got to start where we are. And so as a stand-up comedian, I said, what do I bring to the table? What can I do? I am doing the Good Egg Immigrant Grocery Store stand-up comedy tour. Okay. My goal is to do stand-up comedy inside of immigrant grocery stores, partner with local organizations protecting immigrant communities, and raise money for them. And that's it. So I'm going around all around the country. At this point, I think it's about 18 shows. So yeah, it'll end at the end of summer. And then at the end of September, I'm going to record the culmination of this show that I've been doing as my first 1-hour special.
Oh my God. I love that you're just popping into grocery stores doing some stand-up.
Yes. And I'm also doing video recordings and podcast recordings of the people I'm meeting so that it's not just about the event, but it's about platforming the stories of those people so other people can also learn about what they're doing.
I love this going into a grocery store and bringing your comedy and bringing people and hopefully also bringing vendors for the grocery store, I hope as well. I like when I heard about this, I was wondering about the outreach, and you talked a little bit about this, but when you call these grocery stores, how do they respond? Are they like, who are you? What do you want? Why are you calling? This is not the number.
Well, thankfully, because of my experience in community and political organizing, I'm not the one doing it. I'm the one taking I'm following the lead of the local organization. So if I partner with a local organization, we build trust. They know that community. And so they're the ones who go, you know what? We buy catering from this, deli/market all the time. Let's just go and talk to Mr. So-and-so and see if he'd be interested in letting me set up some chairs and rent out a spotlight and put up my karaoke system to do a stand-up comedy show here with Jenny. And so because of that, I'm not the one directly calling markets. I feel like a lot of people have wondered that. They're like, Jenny, how are you getting these grocery stores? I'm like, I'm not getting them. I'm partnering with the local organizations who are getting them. So that's what I love about this process. I've been able to rely on my previous experience with community and political organizing to hopefully know how to move in these spaces.
So who's showing up?
It's an English language stand-up comedy show. So, a lot of the organizations that I'm working with, they have monolingual language members. So they're not showing up, but these are the people who will pay money to watch stand-up comedy in English and who care about a good cause. So, maybe they'll pay $40 to $100 for a ticket because they know that the bulk of the proceeds are going to go to this organization. And that's why we're working so closely with local nonprofits. So, for example, here in Chicago, where I'm sitting in the offices of, I am here at the Coalition for a Better Chinese American Community based in Chinatown in Chicago. And we just got here, and they've been so kind to let me use their office. They introduced me to the Brighton Park Neighborhood Council, who is one of their partner organizations, along with the other organization that we're actually raising money for, which is the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. So I'm meeting all of these different orgs who are in partnership with each other. I hear about their work, and they're the ones who are taking the lead on who do we invite initially. So before I even put it out to the public, they're the ones actively maybe recruiting, sending this link, the flyer, to a donor base that they know, or people on their staff. So the goal is really to make this a morale booster, as you know, through Abortion Access Front stand-up comedy boosts morale, hopefully. Make people feel like they can come together. It's not just potential donors, but also staff and friends of staff. And then I make it available to my email list, and then I make it public. So we've been selling out these shows because these are tiny shows, 50 to 150, and we're doing it, and it's good. And I think that's how I designed it, so that we can have only good vibes. It's all people who care about the organization, who probably have mourned every day over what ICE has been doing, like I have. And so it's quite cathartic, honestly.
I love that you just talked about like the army behind you that is like the wind in your sails that makes it happen. Are you the only person on stage, or are there other comics?
I am the only person on stage. Every place I go to, I ask for a local opening act. So, listen, Liz Winstead is a headliner, but, if Liz was in town, I'd be like, hey, do you want to come and do 10 to 15 minutes? And then I do an hour or so. So honestly, this has been amazing for me too. It's not only the chance for me to meet people, I'm doing videos and collaborative videos and podcasts with the people I'm meeting, so that in that way, it's not just about the number of tickets I sell, but it's about the stories we're able to tell beyond just the live event. And so that's why I feel like that's my way of maximizing the amount of energy and time that I'm spending in a city, right? And so it's amazing. And then for me personally, I get to have stage time.
Yeah.
And I'm building this new hour and a half so that I can tape my first 1 hour special in September.
Are you going to tape it at a grocery store?
I'm trying to. And I'm trying to do it at a bigger grocery store. And that's going to take a little bit of doing.
Yeah.
So we'll see. If not, I'll just rely on a tried and true comedy theater or club. But I'm trying to do it in a store because it really does feel different. When I said to myself, what would get me out of my nice air conditioned home in Los Angeles for the summer to go all around the country? I was like, you know what? The thing that makes me giggle is if I'm able to do it inside of a grocery store, not even a restaurant, not even, an actual grocery store, a place where no one probably has ever done stand-up comedy. And because symbolically, it's also the main place where a lot of immigrant folks could not go to when they were scared during ICE raids. And other allies had to be the ones to, buy and deliver groceries. And so for me, symbolically, it's the heart and the inspiration, the spiritual inspiration of the tour. It is also, for me, as an immigrant, I know how important food is to our culture. Honestly, it's almost always the last bit of connection a lot of people have to their home country if everything else goes away. And so I was like, I think symbolically, being inside of a grocery store, me telling jokes in front of a wall of ramen next to, heads of cabbages and, a bunch of bok choy only makes sense to me.
Yeah, I love this. And it is, as you mentioned earlier, reminiscent of, what we do. And we were always hoping that people could take the issue that they really are passionate about and go do this. And you have done it and made it your own. And I want to just say too, one of the things that I found in doing this with abortion is that you become an incredibly reliable narrator and first person communicator to the world, because you are day after day after day talking to the people who've been most affected by what's happened. And I know, and I am so sad that I missed you by one day here in Minneapolis. And I know the grocery store that you were at in Minneapolis because it's on the block that Alex Preddy was murdered.
Yeah.
And it is across the street from my favorite Vietnamese restaurant in the world, Quang.
Oh,
And so,
Mine too. My favorite Vietnamese restaurant as well.
and Moji's. And so I would love for you to talk about just Minneapolis in particular,
yeah.
because of what we experienced here and everything that you said that's so important. Talk a little bit about what that show in particular was like, and what it was like for you to be in that sacred space, not only of the grocery store, but of where one of our citizens was murdered.
I have to say, Minneapolis is the inspiration for what the entire mission of this tour is about. You know, it's the badassery of Minneapolis that showed itself to the world during their intensive ICE raids that I think proved to me that if I do anything, I must go to Minneapolis to do the show. Also, I have a personal connection because my friend Yoon Win, who is an owner of Lotus Restaurant in Minneapolis, as well as
Lotus!
Lotus. It's downtown as well as in the suburb. He has two of them. He is a former nightlife promoter type guy like my guy, Corey. They bonded immediately when I met him in LA because his now wife is Chef A, who competed on Next Level Chef. So A is this hilarious personality, A Baby, and we connected because I invited her to be on my Self Help Me show in LA. And so I met Yoon Win. And so when I met Yoon Win, he's like, I'm from Minneapolis. I do Lotus Restaurant. We immediately connected. We hung out again. And then when everything went down in Minneapolis, one of my first things was, I texted you. I said, hey, man, what's going on? Everything okay? He's like, yeah, all our staff are not making any money. They're staying home. We need to feed them. I've been buying them groceries and delivering them. And Yoon is a Vietnamese guy. He's taking his passport around, but he feels slightly more safe than the brown folks that work for him. So earlier in the year, I said, you know what, what's your Venmo? I'm going to just do a video and see how much money we can raise to pay for the groceries of your staff, 25 families. And so we did that. We raised $13,000 in just a day and a half. And it moved me so much, and it made me feel like I can actually do something. And because of that experience, which at the time he remained anonymous because he was afraid, I said, if I do this tour, it needs to be involving Minneapolis. And of course, Yoon was my main contact. He said, I go to Shrung-Her supermarket on Nicollet
Avenue.
On Nicollet Avenue, East Street, so much. I know Henry, the manager. Let's just make that happen. And it was beautiful. We had 150 seats. And coincidentally, Shrung-Her is a block away from Alex Preddy's memorial. So to me, it was everything that needed to happen fell into place, except for the fact that Liz Winstead wasn't there to open for the show.
I wanted to so badly. And also the Lotus, can I put a plug?
Yeah.
They have a mock duck salad.
Oh.
That is the best mock duck salad you've ever had.
Amazing.
It is chef's kiss.
I'm going to be offended that you've never taken me to that as well, Liz, and I will send a formal note to HR.
Fair.
So bottom line is I cried real tears on stage. This is the Jenny's Innovating Stand-Up Comedy by Crying Real Tears on Stage tour, as well as going to Alex Preddy's memorial. There was a wall of names that someone wrote of all the people that ICE has killed. And I just broke down. I cried the tears that I think I've been keeping inside for all this time. And I said, just that week, Lorenzo Araujo was killed. A gentleman in Maine, Juan, was also just murdered. And so it made sense to me to be there in that moment. And it meant so much. And so I just thank you to people like Liz for, showing the world how great Minneapolis is. I'm grateful to Yoon Win of Lotus Restaurant for doing that. It only matters not just because of what I appreciate about Minneapolis from afar, but because I know actual people who are there who are badasses.
Immigrants really led the way, and it was really incredible to watch. Christine and Win, I want to give a shout out to from Hi Hi and Ola Arepa. It was just Somali, aunties were just out in the streets with, passing out sambusas while people were in the streets guarding their houses. And it was quite a time, and Minnesotans really showed up. And when I say Minnesotans, people think of only Scandinavians, but
sure, you bet.
Guess again. Oh yeah, Mary Trade.
Oh yeah.
I will say, Jenny, when you were talking about collecting, somehow generating $13,000 to feed people's family. Like, I welled up a little bit, like just using your activism and using your platform to support people when they really, really need it. It's just really beautiful. And I love you talking about this because I feel like that's what you're saying as well. You're like, I had to pull myself up out of my depression. And rather than making it all about me, I'm making it all about community and coming together. And like, I love that instinct. I love hearing about it. Like, this is so incredible. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
about it.
It moves me when people are so generous and so compassionate, right? Because this is selfish. I'm out here doing this as a reminder for my soul that we can be okay and that we can be there for each other, right? And that we don't have to let the darkness creep in.
And Jenny, for me, like I said at the beginning, but to be able to combine all of your loves into one thing, I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, how does it feel that you're not doing comedy anymore? I'm like, I'm doing comedy all the time. I never stopped doing comedy. I have now combined all the things I love, and I'm like, no, false. I'm actually doing it on my terms, not on Larry Ellison's terms. So
Fuck that
winning.
guy. 100%. No, this has been the most creatively fulfilling project I've done in forever. You know, and it's also a personal way of like, okay, how do I give myself permission to not take these jobs, which I was fortunate to have, but to say, okay, I'm committing this year to this tour and to working on my 1 hour special. So it's been really nice.
So how much longer does this tour go on? Like, are you coming to New York? When do I get to see it?
Yes, August 8th in New York. Very fortuitous number, auspicious number. We're going to be at the new Common in Chinatown. It'll be so fun because I'm actually going to be doing this show on the staircase. New Common is like 4 different levels or something. And so people will be seated around this sort of three-sided square. And then I'll be in the actual staircase doing stand-up comedy.
And how does one get tickets?
Go to jennyyang.tv. That's JENNYYANG.tv. And that's only after everyone else has had first dibs. So if you want first dibs, you have to sign up for my email list and Substack, jennyyang.substack.com. That will sign you up for the ticket drops, as well as my twice a week links that you should talk about, as well as my comedy podcast. What should we talk about with Jenny Yang?
I'm so excited. You know what I'm excited about? Not only that you're doing this great work, but to be able to talk to somebody who did the crazy thing and understands how fulfilling and amazing it is, and that it's life-changing.
It is.
It's life-changing.
When you just go, what if? Oh, let's just do it. I feel like a lot of people don't even get to the what if, much less do it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's great.
It is great. Well, congratulations, and thank you for your humanity and your hilarity and your organizing. And we'll put all the links to everything in the show notes. You are the literal best.
Oh, no, you are. No, you. No, you.
I love everything about this, Jenny. I love you too.
Love you too, Moji. Look, we're doing little hearts underneath our chins.
Thank you, Jenny. You can also find her at Good Egg Party or at What Should We Pod on Instagram. Links, of course, will be in our show notes.
Is that our show?
It's our whole ass show, and it was a delight.
That's our show. Thanks for listening. And thanks again to Kenya Martin. And make sure you donate to We Testify.
Did we make you smarter? Did we make you laugh today? If so, show us some love by liking, subscribing, and giving us a 5-star rating. And if you want to go the extra mile, just join our Patreon. You'll support great content and get incredibly cool FBK merch and experiences. Every single pledge supports this pod and all of our activism at Abortion Access Front. You can just pledge at patreon.com/feministbuzzkills.
Plus, Abortion Access Fund brings the news and info every day. So stay connected with us on social media at Abortion Front across all platforms. With your help, we can get more people to learn about this assault on abortion access.
And another reminder, you should just head on over to mifestories.com. There you can read the beautiful stories that have already been submitted. If you don't have a story of your own, just share this with someone else who may want to participate.
Our voice is our power, and our truth can help set everyone free. So again, that's mifestories.com.
And if you want even more ways to get involved, why don't you just sign up and volunteer? We need you. Go to our website, aafront.org, fill out the volunteer form, and we can just figure it out together.
And next week's show is a doozy. Award-winning Black queer femme activist, writer, and sexuality educator Erica Hart is here in the house to chat with us about using the intersections of race, gender, and sexual liberation to get free.
And the comedian, writer, and lesbian oil wrestling enthusiast, Heb on the Web, aka Heb Murphy, will bring us the chuckles. We may even get her to talk about how she comes up with her hilarious songs. Fingers crossed.
Feminist Buzzkills podcast is edited and produced by Remy DeTournay and Jin Moon for Abortion Access Front. That's our show. See you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Stay safe out there. Don't get diarrhea.
Feminist Buzzkills, the podcast from Abortion Access Front. New episodes drop Friday. When BS is poppin', we pop off. And if you want to support our podcast and all the work of Abortion Access Front, like, subscribe, and join our Patreon at patreon.com/feministbuzzkills.